Hello everybody, this is Show here. Now before I begin, I actually did have an idea to do an April Fool's Day special, and I'm actually not joking about that, before anyone says I am. But two of the ideas I had, they're somewhat, well, they're good ideas, but looking into them more, they're a bit of bad. The way they're, well, actually linked to history. So, if you guys do want me to do a special for April Fool's Day, let me know in the comments, and I will just pull from the cup and call it the April Fool's Day special. And I can see if I can actually get that out today and actually properly made. Because I did have multiple ideas for what to do. One of them being something I thought about months ago. And kinda just threw to the wind. Anyways, let us begin. Everyone, they are still at the church. They're talking and actually thinking about what they need to do. Today they heard they're supposed to be going to this place called the USJ. This should be good. Well, they've heard about it. But Kirishima, she's still having trouble. She's looking at her hand, saying that if this is All Might's quirk, this is difficult and well hard to understand. As one of the sisters would walk in. They have just finished examining Deku and everyone else. They are monitoring their custom-made gene seeds for mutations. Because if they get out of hand, they may need to take out and actually remodel them. Basically, break down the gene seed once again and put it back together. Taking out mutations. Now then, with that being said, Deku, him, and everyone else, they would leave. One of the sisters actually paying attention to Kirishima, noticing that she's a bit odd, but she wouldn't really think anything of it. Now, Mei Hatsume is actually nearby. She is paying attention to this group of people, and Kaminari is the one who grabbed her attention the most. His tech is amazing and astounding. It's just that tech, she's never seen anything like it. Able to work with your quirk like a support item, but also be completely separate? That's insane. Now, she would actually walk up to the church and knock on the door, asking the sister some questions, which the sister would respectively answer. However, Mei would notice something weird. The sister, she may be wearing a, robe upon her head or something on her head, but she can clearly tell that she has white hair, since there is one sticking out. Now, the sister, she would have realized this as she would bring her hand up, tucking her hair underneath. She doesn't really like wearing this thing, but she needs to maintain cover. But she would have just rolled it off as something she may have forgotten this morning. Now, with that, let us cut over to everyone else, while Mei is asking that sister questions upon tech, and exactly about the mountain in the Himalayas. Now then, with that, everyone would arrive at UA, as they would get their uniforms and their gear and wait for the bus. Now, while they are waiting, everyone is beginning to ask questions to Deku, along with Kirishima, and quite a lot of other people, talking about their quirks, and asking them things that they're able to do. Whenever they do ask Mineta about his quirk, they somewhat get a weird answer. Him just holding up his hand and turning it purple with slime. As he would ask exactly why is it purple. To which he would not really have an explanation for. Just saying that that's just the way his quirk works. Even though the, slime he has on his hair It does look a bit white, but it does at least show a bit of a purple tint. Now, Banana doesn't have the standard hair he has in canon. Imagine regular hair, but it just looks like the texture of slime. Now, with that, Deku, he would hear something whisper in the back of his head. Or quite simply, just in the back of his mind while he's answering someone's question. They're asking him about his quirk, to which he wouldn't really have an explanation for. Just explaining that his quirk is a mutation. Even then, it shouldn't really be that big of a problem. To which the voice in the back of his head would just say it is, which would have caught his attention. Him basically turning around to see that there's nothing behind him. There is Bakugo and Ochako, but that's about it. So, he doesn't really care. Turning back, and Kirishima can see the worried concern on his face, asking him exactly if he's okay. To which Deku would say, a bit. The voices, they're getting a bit stronger. To which Bakugo would have heard Deku whisper this. Someone looking up, as Bakugo would begin to whisper. How bad are they getting? Well, I'm not sure. Korn's gone quiet. That's good. From what I've learned, he doesn't really like his champions. Besides, that's not what concerns me. What concerns me is the last time they were this active, I nearly died. So you think something's gonna happen? Well, either I'm about to walk into a war zone, or there's going to be an accident. I'm not really sure. But it's a bit exciting, though. What do you mean? Well, think about it. We haven't been able to fight. We haven't been able to go all out. We haven't even been able to train properly since we've gotten back on this planet. The only times I've ever really felt fun or, well, let loose back during training. Don't you guys ever feel like that? To which some of them would just go quiet. I'm actually paying attention to the conversation, as he would just say, no. Don't you know, training back then wasn't supposed to be fun. It was supposed to be difficult. A trial to put us through. As Deku would just someone look at him, saying true, but it was at least something you could embrace. As they would arrive, Kirishima stands up after Deku, and they would begin to walk out, as they all are a bit more concerned. Nothing feels right about this, as they would walk in. Whenever they walk in, this is where 13 would give the explanation, as Deku would feel everything shift. The tone and the way things feel in this building, as the villains would arrive. They would arrive with the Nomu, though, and it looks a bit different, or at least bigger, as Shigaraki would instruct it to kill everything in sight, as the Nomu would begin to rampage, actually beginning to run around and just throw its hands down and do whatever it can. Aizawa and 13 running in. 13, she would immediately go to hold out her hand to attack the Nomu, or at least try to absorb it. Aizawa would be canceling its quirk, while a portal would open up in front of 13. As soon as that happens, 13 would have to, well, get ripped apart by her own quirk, which she kind of was not expecting. Now, that would put her out of the battle, as Aizawa is trying to face off against it. Now, Deku and everyone will go charging in. Momo beginning to create weapons. She would create bow staffs and blunt swords, or at least giant bars of metal that they can use, as everyone will go in charging and actually just throwing villains around, and beating and punching through their armor. Which, Class 1A is shocked. Bakugo using his AP shots, Ibarra trying to, tangle up and actually get most of the people they have wrapped up. Kaminari proceeding to charge his hands with electricity as he would just throw them outwards, which completely makes Shigaraki confused. That cannot be right. Nothing about this is right. Now, Karagiri would open a portal underneath everyone as they would begin to fall. Deku, he's falling and he's actually trying to get his bearings, getting his hands underneath him. He hears someone call out to him as he sees Kirishima. She is dealing with something on top of her, as the Nomu got sent flying through this portal with her. Deku being able to somewhat dive towards her and actually smash into the side of the Nomu, as him and the Nomu go smashing into the water, as she would be swimming over to the boat. As soon as she gets over, she would hop up and get on, as she's looking around for Deku. Deku and the Nomu are underwater, as Deku is fighting back against it. He is roughly its size, but it is clearly overpowering him in strength, and he is having difficulty breathing. His third lung will provide him enough oxygen for a while, but at this rate, he's not going to have enough to survive. But he's at least excited about this. A challenge, finally, something to push himself against, as he would continue on. Eventually, Deku would have gotten away from the Nomu and actually able to kick upwards into its face, being able to push away from it and actually get upwards onto land. Taking a deep breath in, and the Nomu then charging up behind him. Swimming upwards and actually smashing into him, these two being sent flying over the skyline and smashing into a building. Bakugo getting ready. He would run in as he would go to actually help Deku. But as soon as that happens, this is whenever something strange would happen. There is another thing here. Another portal. Another villain. As a large purple gash would open up across the USJ, along the ceiling, as a large group of Marines would come dropping in. They would begin to shout and actually scream as they began to open fire on the villains. This confusing Aizawa, as he just looks up. Aizawa, he was punched away and actually beaten to the point where he can't really stand or move his body. His eyes are perfectly fine though, along with his back being intact, so he will at least be able to recover from this. But through his vision he can see these large figures, actually mistaking the one closest to him for Midoriya, as it is wearing a Space Marine armor. Momo, she would be looking at these men as they would just be shouting that they are here for the champion. As a larger Marine would step out, saying that he is here for Korn's champion. Now, as soon as Deku hears that, he would have looked away, the Nomu being able to throw a punch across Deku's face, sending him flying away, as he would have gotten back up, healing the injury on his face. Shigaraki actually seeing that, Deku begins to run forward, as he actually does begin having a smirk run across it. This is amazing. His lust for battle is overtaking him, as he would have gotten closer. He would be able to run forward, grabbing and actually picking up the Nomu for a second, as he would go to throw it. As soon as he does so, Bakugo would have came in, as he ran up and socked across the face. Everyone watching as Kaminari, he begins to use these support items, them actually flying in and trying to attack the Nomu. stabbing upwards into its body and beginning to send volts of electricity through it. As Mineta would run forward, Mineta begins to throw out slime at it and actually shoot these large, blades. If you guys have ever seen Red X, from Teen Titans, from whenever he throws out those giant X's and they stick to the wall, he's basically doing that with both of his arms, throwing them one upwards at an angle and then throwing the next upwards, as he's throwing these at the Nomu. The Nomu would be hit by these and they would begin to burn, as people are in shock, Deku getting annoyed, as he would just shout for them to get out of his battle. Go help everyone else. Bakugo getting confused. He would then shout for Deku that he's not the one giving orders. Go help everyone else, and we will help fight this thing. As Deku would get angry, he begins to feel Corn's mark burning, more intensely, along with something else. He would then lose it, going into a bit of a blood rage, where he would charge forward directly at the Nomu. The Nomu is standing there until Shigaraki orders it to attack everyone. It running forward, meeting Deku head on. Deku being able to smash upwards into its face with his hands, and then punch it downwards across the face. These chaotic space marines are watching this, as the fire would begin to engulf Deku. Everyone would be in shock watching as Deku, he would pick up the Nomu and begin grabbing it, holding onto it, beating it, and smashing it into the ground. Bakugo is confused. Deku doesn't have a quirk, so exactly what the hell just happened? Deku actually throwing his arm outwards and getting angry, as he would begin to scream and lose it. He is loving this. The pain he is relishing in it. It is something he has not felt truly in a long time, as another mark would form on his body. And he would run forward, meeting the Nomu, into a grapple. These chaotic space marines are watching this, as one of them would give the order to take down that beast, so that they may fight this man properly. One of them taking aim and firing directly into the Nomu's brain. Deku would watch as the Nomu basically stumbles over and falls to the ground. Deku getting angry and immediately turning, seeing these large men. One of them saying that will do. Deku getting annoyed as he can feel something building in his body, as he would throw his hands outwards and just scream. As soon as he screams, a large, wave of it can be seen. Whatever Deku just did, he threw out enough sound to produce an actual shockwave, as it goes barreling towards these men, them being in complete shock. He has just gained Slanesh's favor. So exactly how dangerous is this boy? He is the champion of 2 of the Chaos Gods. That is not good. Now, Deku, he would just be mad, as he continues to scream and scream and scream, the fire around him building more and more, engulfing his entire body and the area around him, as he would run forward. The Marines would begin to fire at him, and actually into his body. Deku running through their bullets as he has his hands outwards above his head. He's able to keep his mouth open, however, and scream through this, running forward and picking up one of the Marines, as he begins to swing them around and actually mess with them more. Actually, making the Marines a bit fearful of him, as Bakugo and Kirishima, they would come running in, along with Kaminari and everyone else. Momo actually creating heavy bolters, and being open fire on them. People are confused at what's happening. Whatever is going on, clearly they have a better understanding of it than anyone else here. So, exactly what is this? As Ibara would create ginormous vines into the ground, making them stab upwards and actually wrap around their armor, wrapping around their joints, their arms, and anywhere else they need to. As this ginormous leader would basically order them to retreat. They were not expecting this level of preparedness or power from them. They expected a light squadron to be enough to take them down. Clearly, that is not the case, since 3 of their 5 men have died. Now, as that happens, Deku, he would be losing it fully, as he's screaming in this man's face and his armor is just cracking and breaking around him. He would have thrown a spike directly into Deku's heart, as Deku would have been thrown backwards, backing up and actually bleeding. The area is trying to heal. Deku just pulling this thing out as he finally regains some, understanding of himself. He cannot control his voice, as he's basically just on his knees looking upwards, engulfed in fire. Now, as that happens, he blows the roof off the top of the USJ, glass shards covering the area around him. As Kirishima will run forward, she just runs forward and actually gets close enough to Deku, grabbing him and basically trying to shake him out of this, telling him to get a hold of himself, as he tries to look at her. Whatever is going on with him, he cannot see, nor can he, understand this, as he would finally force his mouth close, as he looks down and actually sees her. Her suit, it is burning. Most of it is fireproof, but the parts that are not, they are heavily engulfed in fire, along with her actually hardening her body to the point that she can. Deku seeing her arms somewhat turning red, as she tells him that he needs to stop. Deku, his eyes fill with tears a bit, as whatever is going on in his body is making things go haywire. Parts of his brain are shutting down, parts of it are turning back on. Whatever is happening, Deku has no control, as he would finally do one thing. He would try calming down, but turning off a portion of his brain in the process, as a hallucination would appear directly in front of him. It is a younger version of himself and his mother. But that's not it. Why does he saw that woman before? Who is she? Wait, that's not his mom? As one thing would happen, Bakugo would walk up behind Deku and jab him in the back of the neck, as hard as possible. This would break a part of Deku's spine, but it will heal and regenerate, as Deku would finally fall to the ground. Kirishima looking directly at Bakugo, saying that she had that. He didn't have to. Of course I did. Look around him, as she would finally look down. The area underneath Deku is basically a glass floor, along with her actually looking at her hands. Her skin is the color red, along with the fact that as soon as she unhardens it, she feels intense pain. But this would be nothing. Her walking over to the water and dipping her hands in, and actually coating her arms in it, as All Might would have finally arrived. The signal, Ida did not get out of the USJ, but what did catch their attention was Deku blowing the top off of it, so that was clearly a sign something was wrong. As All Might is looking around at what's going on, Aizawa and 13, they are heavily injured. Deku, he's laying on the ground with fire coating around him, along with Kirishima and Bakugo being close to him. Mineta and everyone else in Deku's group, they are making sure that Nobu stays down. Mineta and Ibara, they're actually making sure by using their quirks to keep its body downwards, as they're going over its, damage, seeing that a single shot to the brain killed it. But they don't know if that can regenerate or not, so they're keeping an eye on it. While Kirishima and everyone else, they are walking around trying to find every UA student. Shinsho, he was able to actually brainwash some of the villains to get information out of them. Well, Shigaraki and Karagiri have left. Now, with that, Deku, he would be escorted to a specialized room. Something made to help contain his fire. Now, they would basically have him in a specialized box on top of a hospital bed. Everything inside the box is depressurized and deoxygenized. Deku basically having a mask over his face, the only source of oxygen he can get. The area around it, however, is sparking, so clearly it is trying to light. Now, that is going to be where I leave this part off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.